welcome to October's episode of Connecting the Pervs, brought to you by Foxx Media Group and myself, Diana. I'm the editor-in-chief. Today I'd like to talk a little bit about being a survivor. For those of you who follow me, you've probably seen the onslaught of defaming comments that one of our stalkers, Ari Bass, aka Michael Whiteacre, had been posting on Twitter over the last couple weeks. I happened to see that a Dr. Chantel, who is directly connected to Joy King, the CEO and producer of Wicked Productions, a porn company, and I posted a picture of them two together to show some media sources and the University of Oklahoma and hopefully some other universities, because I do see that she is touring. And that is why I posted the picture, because people do need to know that she is closely connected to the Los Angeles porn industry. So I posted the picture, and out of the blue, Ari Bass, Michael Whiteacre, jumped all over me and, post his usual onslaught of defaming stories. So I decided tonight that I was going to put this on the record once and for all in answer to comments such as these, which all come from the same people. The FSC, the Free Speech Coalition, which is a terrorist group inside the Los Angeles porn industry. And they hire these stalkers. Michael's just one of many that I've had. Mine started with Red Goat, who ended up being the person who exposed Anthony Weiner, who is Huma's husband, who she is the, I'm not sure what her official title is, but basically she's Hillary Clinton's right-hand woman. And so that's what connects me to Hillary Clinton, is Anthony Weiner's stalker, who outed him for exposing himself on social media, was also the first stalker that I had, the first official stalker I had when I was in the Los Angeles porn industry. So one of the main reasons that I decided to do these videos was, in particular, just so people could get to know me a little bit. Learn a little bit about me, put a face to my writings. I do write much better than I speak. I've never been a public speaker, never wanted to be a public speaker, so all of this is, kind of ironic and funny. And I can only say that God does have a good sense of humor when He picks your job that He wants you to do sometimes. But anyway, here I am. So I'm going on the record to talk about the things that are said about me. And this will be the one and only time I do it, because I do not feed the trolls on social media, and I really don't pay any attention to this stuff. But I do know that there's a lot of people that don't know me, and so you really kind of need to have it explained once and for all. So the first comment, which has been, the main comment that they've used over the years, has been, and that is about going on 7 years now that I've been doing this, and they stalk me daily. And basically they say that, I pimped my daughter, I brought her to the industry, and I pimped her out to the pornographers there. Well, my daughter was 21 years old. So she was quite capable of making her own decisions, and unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, she is a lot like me. And when she put her mind to something, she was going to do it, and she made the decision that she was going into porn, and the persons that pimped her into porn was our mainstream media. because at the time that this happened was in 2007, and the media at that point, they were bringing porn stars onto their talk shows. They were in the media, online, in the news, and they were going on reality shows. And basically, the girls were all saying that having a porn career empowered them and enabled them to advance their acting careers and their artistic abilities into other arenas because of the exposure, quite literally, that they had in the porn industry. So this is what she read. And there's plenty of interviews out there where we were on the Maury show, and he asked about specifically if I, had approved of her going into porn. And I answered, absolutely not. And my daughter proceeds to explain exactly how she did all her research. And, from everything from all these major sources, that going into porn was a great career choice today. So, well, we all know now, and she knows too, that it's not. And one day she will go on the record with that. She wanted to do it one time and one time only, and she wanted to do it in a court of law. And unfortunately, we have not been able to get justice for my daughter or myself or any of the other girls who've been sex trafficked in the Los Angeles porn industry. So that's defaming statement number one that the porn industry loves to throw out there. And the reality is they have all kinds of incestuous genres in their line of pornography. So you can find, mothers with sons, mothers with daughters, fathers with daughters, fathers with sons, and a whole mixture of that. It's rumor number two that goes kind of with rumor number one, is they say that we committed incestuous acts together. My daughter and I never performed together. We've never touched each other. We're a normal mother and daughter. I know we went into porn, and that doesn't sound too normal. But, I just happened to know my daughter. She went there. I went after her. And I didn't come out until I was able to bring her back with me. And I was willing to do whatever it took. So that's the bottom line of it. And I told everybody that when I was there, that was the reason I was there, and they all knew it. We spoke out about it. We went on to Howard Stern and radio shows and the Maury show, and we specifically went on there with the message that no, incest is bad. We will not perform in it. And they didn't like girls to know that somebody in porn had rules. That we were saying no. You can look at what's going on here and, and see what they're doing and what I'm doing. And I'm trying to change the world for the better, and they're trying to pimp out our daughters. And they did get mine, but I got her back. So that's the end of that story, for the record. Okay, so on to the next story that they came up with. My ex-husband, I was married twice. I have no problem with my story. My life has not been perfect. But I'm still sitting here. I'm still sane. I'm still sober. You can see I have normal, healthy fingernails. This is my hair, normal, healthy hair. And I'm not a crack whore like they want to say that I am. But basically what happened was about 5 years after I divorced my first husband. 5 years after. And he had moved back up to where we were from. I'm from Michigan originally. Been living in Florida about 20 years now. And so he was 1,200 miles away, and 5 years later, my ex-husband had become a drug addict. A very hardcore drug addict. He was a drug addict, truthfully, when I met him, and an alcoholic. I had no idea what that was. when I was, 19, 20 years old. I was 20 when I met him. I had no idea what that was all about, so I did get involved in an abusive marriage and relationship. And at the point where I had 2 children and was ready to leave him, he became sober and he stopped doing drugs. And for the next 11 years, we had a good marriage. He's a good man when he's not on alcohol and drugs, but, many men are. That's a lot of the problem. Many men are good men when they're not addicted to porn. Addictions destroy lives, and they destroy families, and they destroy children. And basically, like I said, 5 years and 1,200 miles away, my ex-husband was doing some hardcore drugs, and he sexually assaulted a 12-year-old. It was his girlfriend's daughter. And horrific situation. And luckily, even though the mother was a drug addict, she did report it, and he went to jail. It was a devastating time for my children. That was their dad. And for you dads out there that are doing things and you think it's secret, it will come out. And it destroys children's lives. And that was a lot to go through for all of us. And none of us have seen him since we hadn't seen him since a few years before this happened. About 2 years after we got divorced, he moved north. So we haven't even seen him, but I hope that his life is back together, and I know if he hadn't been on drugs and alcohol, that, that situation probably hadn't happened. But it had nothing to do with me, and it was long after we had been split up. So again, the defaming statements that Mr. Whiteacre, aka Bass, and other porners continue to spread is the fact that they're saying that he's my husband, not my ex-husband. They're saying that he lives with me still, which, I don't even know how many years. It's been like since 2001, I think, since I saw him. So what is that, 14 years? So, none of this stuff is true. And I'm not responsible for a man 5 years after I divorce him. So come on, it's just a story spin. And this is what they do. They take the facts, which are all against them, and, they're the ones who are pedophiles. They're the ones who are pushing child, porn. They do depicted child porn all the time. I've already shown that in several instances, and the most popular one is the Adam and Eve ad that's on the Senior Citizens website of porn star Casey Jordan in a bathing suit with pigtails looking like she's 10 years old because she's flat-chested. So they've portrayed her as a 10-year-old, and they're marketing it on a Senior Citizens activities website. Yeah. So these are the people that are talking crap about me. And like I said, it's kind of frustrating to even do this. But I think it's important because I think that people need to understand how these people keep their victims silenced. And they have tried for 7 years to silence me, and I've never shut my mouth up. You can talk to people as far as I've been a baby. I always had a big mouth. So it's not going anywhere, and I'm not being silenced. I do have my shame, and a lot of it comes from believing in the liberal Democrats' agenda and raising my children to be liberal Democrats, and now I'm having to go back and explain to them the truth of, what the world is we live in, and all the things that I didn't know. So, that's my biggest shame right there, is having raised my children believing something that's not real, and understanding, that by teaching my children the values of the liberal Democrat agenda, I was responsible for my daughter believing the feminists when they say that it's empowering to sell your own body, because it's not. And we all know that now. I mean, my whole family knows that, and we're quite far into the matrix at this point on understanding. And with that, we'll talk about the last thing that happened, and that is the beginning of this year, back in the spring, my son did get arrested and was charged with having sex with an underage girl. And, obviously I'm an activist against this. I fought for strong laws on this. Devastating. There's no other words for it. But, when I finally was able to see my son after 3 days in jail, and I learned a lot about our judicial system and our prison system, and let me tell you, it's unreal. It's unreal. But basically, the girl in question was 15. She was out at 2:30 in the morning in a club dress, like she was partying, and she called my son over. And there's no one disputing these facts. Before I go any further, let me just say that even the prosecutor and the judge understand and believe these facts. And we have a witness who, but we'll get into that in a minute. But anyway, so she was out at 2:30 in the morning, which we have a midnight curfew for anyone under 16 and under, or under 16, in Clearwater, and so she was out after curfew. She was dressed like she was an adult. She was acting like an adult. She approached my son. They had a discussion. They talked for a little while. She asked him if he wanted to come back to her house and hang out, and he went. So, my son has to accept the responsibility for making bad choices. But he did not know she was underage. They did mess around. They were in the backyard. She told him to go around front, and while she locked up the back, and that she would meet him around front. And when he went around front, the Clearwater Police Department with the sex crime division, was waiting for him. So, my son, while he did a really bad thing, and he's paying for it, but he did get set up in one shape or form, and according to a neighbor, this was a regular occurrence that she did, so the police were aware of it. So I don't know who all is involved. All I know is that this is not something my son would do of his own choice. His choice was taken away from him. It happens, and I don't know, I have to look at it as, first of all, it was a big wake-up call for him that he was making bad choices in his life, and I can only hope that he makes, better choices. I pray for him every day, and I know now, at least through this happening, is he's praying every day too, so amen God to that, and sometimes that is what it takes. That's what we're dealing with here. We deal with it regularly as activists, whistleblowers, and survivors, because, we have organized crime we're fighting against. This could be your life. These things could happen to your family. This could happen to your child, and that if you don't start standing up and taking, a real hard look at what's going on in our world around us. My family's been damaged heavily by drugs and porn. Sometimes you got to look at it that way. And that's all we can do, is move forward and help others so that they don't make the same mistakes, or so that their loved ones aren't harmed by all the evil that's going on in our world. My family's been devastated by evil, but I'm still here. I'm still sane, and I'm still sober. And that is all that matters. So that's my story in a nutshell of what's going on with the stalkers of Porn Valley. But, you know, if we turn and look at what their records are, they all have criminal records. You know, Michael Whiteacre, a.k.a. Ari Scott Bass, if you look in the Nevada court records, you'll find that he's been convicted of violence against women, domestic violence against his wife. A lot of these guys have violent assault criminal records. And this is what we're dealing with. I don't have a criminal record. My record's completely clean. They would have loved for me to illegally prostitute so they could set me up and get a prostitution conviction on my criminal record. Because unfortunately, as long as prostitution for women, the victims, and there's men too, and there's boys. I mean, I deal mostly with the female side of this, but people do need to understand that the exact same things happen to young boys all the time. Teenage boys, college-age boys, and middle-aged men. I mean, you know, everybody's drawn into this evil. Porn is evil. So it's just not like it used to be in the 70s when we ran around. But, you know, the truth of the 70s is girls got raped then, too. There's a lot of girls got raped back in the 70s. All this stuff. These people from the 70s, the feminists and, you know, the playboys, well, now they're all middle-aged and senior citizens, my God. And they're still pimping it. But they're pimping it with our children. Moving on to AHF, AIDS Healthcare Foundation, a wonderful organization who helped me get legal assistance for a lawsuit against the Porn Industry's Testing Center for releasing my personal information to the public. AHF just came out with a billboard campaign within the last couple of weeks about STDs, and it was called Straight Outta Condoms, and deals a lot with the HIV epidemic in the black community. They have done wonders to bring attention to, they've done just absolute miracles to bring attention to the issues in Porn Valley. And I thank them from the bottom of my heart that they're still fighting the battle. And they also started a billboard campaign about STDs and dating sites. So, you know, going back to the promiscuous sex and, you know, all these old people who, they're dying anyway, so they don't care. They got all kinds of diseases, because I'm telling you, they did anything and everything, a lot of them. And so they have passed this on for generations now. And we have some STDs out there that are resistant to the antibiotics. And, you know, some things, if you don't get treatment for it in a certain amount of time, you can't cure it anymore. And then you become just terminal, and you wait to die. So, we know there's HIV, we know there's syphilis, there's hep C, there's gonorrhea, there's chlamydia. I mean, you know, there's genital warts, HPV, you name it. They are crawling with it. And they're escorting all over the world with it. And AHF, they bring awareness to all of this. They're bringing attention to the dating sites. And these, you know, like Grindr was one of the examples they used, where, you know, you're on your cell phone and you can see you got 5 people around you and you say, hey, you want to hook up? And you just go and jump and hook up with these people and leave. So, again, you're having sex with strangers. You have no idea. And if they're going to jump in and have sex with you in 2 minutes, how many other people have they had sex with in 2 minutes? And those two people, and those two people, and those two people. I mean, it goes on and on. And this is the facts. This is, the reality. And this is what liberal Democrats have been pimping for decades now. And it's not safe, it's not good, and you're only going to end up harmed. So it's time to put the reality check back in reality, which is you need to have respect for your body and yourself. And then once you can respect your body and yourself, then you need to go out and you can find a partner to have respect for too. So with that, we're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about politics and positivity campaigns. Welcome back to October's episode of Connecting the Pervs. Before I move on to politics going on today, I just want to close out my first segment about being a survivor, that while I am a survivor, I am still a victim of the Los Angeles porn industry. People need to understand that I'm victimized every day as an activist and a whistleblower. And social media helps my enemies do that. Twitter, Facebook, different domains, different hosting. They're all, by allowing these criminals, these violent criminals, to continue with their threats against female activists for speaking out about crimes against humanity. This isn't just calling them names like they do with us. I mean, that's all they got with us, is they call us names because they have nothing else. They threaten our lives because they have nothing else. But, we back our stuff up with facts, but social media still allows them to continue their defaming, illegal cyberstalking and cyberbullying, while they think somehow because we're speaking out that we deserve it. So, that's a major issue in the United States today for anybody who wants to speak out against crimes happening all over our country, is that this is what happens to them. And a lot of people are silenced. A lot of people are scared. You read every day about feminists going into hiding because of death threats. Well, the truth is these people would never show their face to you. They would never get right up in your face because they know you could kill them and get away with it. In Florida, we have stand our ground, and if they ever come at me, I won't even hesitate. Won't hesitate. So they know they can't come anywhere around me. So they can threaten me all they want. But, the real damage that happens is what they do out there on social media. And until social media steps up and takes responsibility for stopping violent criminals from threatening people who are doing good work out here, we're going to continue to suffer and continue to be victims. So while I am a survivor, unfortunately, I am still a victim. So with that, we'll go on to some politics and talk a little bit about what's going on there. The GOP debate, it went great. My daughter, she's 29 now, and she had never sat through one. She said they were boring, so I was watching it. She was, doing stuff on her computer, and she actually came and sat down and waited to watch South Park so that she could watch it. She said she'd never seen anything more interesting about politics. So there were some good front runners that came out of it. I was happy to see so many speak out against Planned Parenthood and going into that. We have Hillary Clinton steps up afterward and does a whole campaign about, hey, let's just go all out and keep those late-term abortions. We'll just abort babies until the second they're delivered. Okay, well, we all know the truth is they'll deliver them and kill them afterward. So, the congressional hearings, where Planned Parenthood's CEO was to testify, she admitted much of the stuff that's going on. I don't know what else to say about it. I mean, Hillary Clinton's go, hey, let's go, let's keep doing it, well, of course, because they're the ones who are taking those baby parts. I mean, I've done a lot of research on this, and there's so much that's going on with this that has never been talked about. I mean, the vaccines are just a small part of it. They are growing tissues for kidneys, livers, and other things to transplant into people. So yes, they're prolonging their own lives with this. So it's not even anymore about profiting just for the money. They're profiting with their mortality. So we're getting Frankenstein at this point. So, and Hillary's still all in for it. We had a Cosmo writer come out and say that Carly Fiorina did so well in the debate that she was saying that she was the candidate that she wished Hillary had been. So Hillary hasn't taken a clue from that even the feminists over at Cosmo magazine are saying Carly is the candidate that they wanted Hillary Clinton to be. Because she's corrupt, she's a liar, she's evil, she's got a grandbaby, yet she sits and talks about, let's just kill those babies right up to the second they come out that vagina, because we can make some money. So that's what we have in politics today. That's really the bulk of it. I mean, we have Marco Rubio and Ben Carson are right up there with Donald Trump, who's still hanging in there, but he's slowly dropping off. As people get tired of it and they're not entertained anymore, his support will continue to drop off. So, it still looks to be in the Republican race, a good chance for Carly, Marco, or Ben to be our candidate. And I'd be happy with any of the three. So, of politics and where we're at right now with Obama, in the midst of all the GOP debate and everything, I guess somebody stood up in the audience and to ask a question of Donald Trump. He said something about Obama being a Muslim, and Donald Trump did not correct him. Well, media went crazy. How dare Donald not correct this man about Obama being a Muslim? Well, what do they care? Why would they think Donald Trump, if he was a GOP, why would they think that he would defend Obama? Why would he care about defending Obama? I mean, so this first telling signs, I mean, we just keep seeing more and more evidence that, Donald Trump is really the liberal Democrats' puppet, and he didn't say what he was supposed to say, and it went crazy. There was a media circus about it. So as soon as that died down, then South Park did an episode with Donald Trump as the Canadian president, and when he became the Canadian president, all the Canadians moved to the U.S. And South Park's pretty obscene. It's very political, so I do watch it because they got they're right on with a lot of stuff. But it is quite obscene. You have to kind of get past that. It's something that I do with my daughter because this is her political show. So I got to see what the kids are watching. And I would just wish they'd clean it up some. But media went off on that. The fact that they made Donald Trump, the president of Canada, and then they killed him in an obscene way, which they normally, if they're going to kill somebody, they usually do it in pretty provocative forms. So, but media went crazy. Now, I'm going, if that was Marco Rubio they killed off on South Park, they would have loved it. They would have loved it. But they threw a fit and thought it was distasteful to have done that to Donald Trump. And then I saw somewhere in the media where they said, it's distasteful, the comments that are being made about Donald Trump's wife. And, how dare they talk about her that way? No other first lady has had to put up with this. Well, no other first lady, as far as we know, has been a foreign mail order bride. So, it is a pertinent detail. The fact that Donald Trump gets his women from another country. He gets real young ones, and do you really think they'd be with them if he made $30,000 a year? Yeah, me too. So, sorry guys, but you're just going to have to put up with that one because she's a foreign mail order bride, and I really don't want that as my first lady because we have enough pimping going on in this country. So, then we go back to the Obama thing with the Muslims because they're still talking about that, and the fact that Hillary Clinton is the one who brought that whole story to the forefront when she ran against him. So, they're blaming that on her. But, the truth is, while everybody else is wondering if Obama is a Muslim, I'm wondering if he's a Scientologist. I mean, in 2008, September 2008, just weeks before the election, he came to the Bellevue Biltmore Hotel, located in the Scientologist elitist neighborhood of Clearwater, Florida, and it's owned and operated by the Church of Scientology, which is located in downtown Clearwater, Florida. And he stayed there to be able to focus and, get ready for the end of his campaign and the election. So I find it highly suspect that he comes to the Scientology centers where they cleanse themselves and supposedly, change into the person they were really supposed to be. That's where he came to prepare. So, and then earlier this year, the Church of Scientology came out and announced that they were, and they filed for approval in the community to build a rehab center, a drug rehab center, which Scientology drug rehab is not like a normal rehab center, I can guarantee you that. But they want to build it right next to Camp David, which is where the president's family and, where they vacation. It's a real secure place. Dignitaries go there for special meetings and things like that. So you got to wonder why the Scientology is going to build a center right next door. And their treatments aren't real. And the treatment for their drug rehab is actually, they're being investigated for 2 deaths of 2 young women who went through it. Which brings us into Jim Carrey. We all know his girlfriend, on-again, off-again girlfriend, just committed suicide. And it came out that she was studying in Scientology. So there's 3 young women. Which, by the way, Jim, she was too young for you anyway, and that causes problems. I mean, you guys need to stick with women your own age and leave these young women alone so they can actually live a life and grow up right and have normal dreams and goals and stuff instead of hanging out with some old man. But try to be nice because of the fact that it's a horrible situation. Anytime someone commits suicide, And these young women, that's 3 young women associated with Scientology. So that is definitely something that we need to be addressing and looking at. And also, again, don't forget, why is Obama associated with Scientology? Why would he come here, of all places, to focus? That's my question. Because I'll tell you, I've worked for a few Scientologists here, and Obama runs this country the same way they run their businesses, and they're all messed up. So when I look at the two and I do the comparisons, I hate to tell you, but we need to be looking at this. Scientology also has a strong tie to Hollywood, and we know that Obama's backers came from Hollywood. Hollywood media helped him win his election. So these are questions that I'm asking Scientology. Start looking around. Learn a little. I guarantee you'll see it too. Before we close this episode out tonight, there's one last thing I want to talk about, and that is the new liberal Democrats' campaign for positive. Yes, body positive and sex positive. Okay, I've heard these 2 terms recently, and I want to make sure that we cover this. Because you've got to understand, the sex positive was used by a pedophile. A pedophile that the media source, the Salon, gave platform to. And basically he's saying if he lived in a sex positive society, he would definitely have sex with children. Then he wants us to believe that he can live in our society that doesn't allow that, and that he won't touch children. Even though he's saying the only thing between him touching and not touching is a law. So we all know a lot of people figure they can, get around the law and break the law and nobody will ever know. So I don't trust him at all on that. But he used the term sex positive, which implies that if you're not for pedophilia, you're sex negative. Then recently, they just showed Lush Cosmetics saying that they were doing a body positive ad which shows a bunch of naked women. They're overweight women. I don't care if they're overweight, underweight, perfect weight. I don't care if they got the greatest body in the world. I don't want to see them naked on a cosmetic ad. I don't want to see them naked anywhere. Keep your clothes on unless you're behind closed doors. That's the way it's always been. We don't need all this nakedness. And I don't want body fluids from, sitting on seats where somebody else has sat naked. Put on your underwear. Go commando, forget it. Put some cushion in your tush. Put some panties on. So keep an eye out for these campaigns that are a positive, negative role reversal. So if you're sex positive, then positive always means good, negative always means bad. I mean, this is something that's, basic instincts in our head. Negative, bad, something bad. Positive, yeah, we like positive. So they're saying sex positive, though, is to have sex with children, to allow you to have sex with anything. You'd have sex with a horse, a sheep, kids, it gets into, that's where you get into, well, where do you draw the lines into rape? Well, then you should be able to, the porn industry believes you should be able to do anything you want to anybody at any time, whether they want you to or not. That's why they introduced torture. So, negative is negative and positive is positive. And sex positive means that you want healthy sexual relationships, one of which pedophilia is not. And we all agree on that, except for the pedophiles, of course, and the other sexual predators. And body positive means you don't have to take your clothes off to get attention from somebody. Because the second you do, you lose all the power in the world. So on that note, I'm going to close October's episode of Connecting the Pervs. Thanks once again for joining me. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy days and lives to learn more about how to protect yourself and your children in this world we find ourselves in today. Good night and God bless. Amen.